Hey, what's going on, guys? So I'm here at the new place. I've just finished setting everything up, and the last project that I did at the old house was this puzzle here, which is a half truncated ivy cube. Now, I love that project, and it's clear that quite a lot of you guys did as well. It's a pretty interesting looking puzzle, and it's got a very nice kind of oilsing effect, and the cuts look really nice on it. Just overall, I was really happy with it. But in modifying this puzzle, I realized that if I was to cut down these faces just a little further, I could actually make a void Jinx Pyraminx. Now, the reason I'd ever tried this in the past is because I didn't want to make a whole Jinx Pyraminx just to do this modification. So I figured the only way I was going to do it was by modifying a Jinx Pyraminx that already existed. But the mass-produced Jinx Pyraminx had the core structured in the wrong way, and I wasn't able to cut down the centers without having to remove part of the mechanism and then change it around and everything like that. So in this case right now, I have a perfect opportunity to try and make this puzzle. So let's get started. To start this puzzle off, I wasn't going to be using a unmodified Ivy Cube because I just didn't have one. I figured the best way to go about building this puzzle was to just use my half truncated Ivy Cube, as it was basically most of the modification already done for me. I just had to cut a little deeper down. So I tilted the table on my bandsaw to 35 degrees as per usual, and then I started cutting. However, it wasn't long after the first cut that I realized the amount of material that I was taking off was just so small that it wasn't really worth cutting off on the bandsaw, and it was easier to just sand it off over on the belt sander. So while I'm sanding down these faces, I might take a moment to talk about where it is that I am now. As you guys know, I have moved out of my old house, and I'm now set up here. As you can see, it's a little different to the usual setup because I'm now outside and I have a little more natural lighting, which I don't think is a bad thing because my last video at the old place was outside, and a lot of people complimented the look of that video. They thought that filming outside was a lot better than filming inside, so I'm hoping to get a lot more natural lighting in my videos from now on. It's just part of the whole experimentation process with filming these videos and having fun in the process. After I finished sanding all of the faces down, it was time to disassemble the puzzle so that I could see all of the pieces that I was going to modify. It wasn't really that much of a complex modification if you think about it. All I had to do was sand down as much as possible and then extend all of the areas that I hadn't sanded down. After I finished disassembling all of the pieces, I separated them into the pieces that I was going to be extending outwards and the pieces that I wasn't going to be worrying about during this build. Now, as you can see here, the 4 centerpieces were going to be hollowed out, and the way I was going to do that was just by knocking out all the epoxy sculpt that I put in there to begin with. After extending all of the pieces and allowing them about a day to cure, I took them all over to my belt sander and I sanded them down so that I could reassemble the puzzle. After all the pieces were sanded, the puzzle was reassembled, and now it was time to take it back over to the belt sander so that I could sand down all of those faces and finish off the final shape of the puzzle. After a little back and forth on the belt sander, I finally got all of the faces down to final dimension, and here it is. The overall shape of the puzzle was pretty much complete. Now, as you can see here, these corners and the edges were incredibly sharp. It's actually kind of surprising at just how sharp epoxy sculpt can get when you sand it to a point. I definitely didn't want any of those sharp edges on the final puzzle, so I had to disassemble the puzzle so that I could round off all of the edges of each of the pieces. And after I did that, I reassembled the puzzle and it was looking fantastic and turning fantastically, so all I had to do now was paint the puzzle up and then throw some stickers on it. So I painted the puzzle up in my paint booth. I really need to get a paint booth. I don't have one, and I need one. I'm painting things all the time, and I still just use cardboard boxes. But anyway, I painted the puzzle up, and everything was looking sweet, and then I threw some stickers on it, and here it is. The Void Jinx Pyraminx is finally done. I'm really happy with how this puzzle looks. I'm really happy with the whole void part of it. There are some people that would claim that it's not really a void puzzle because it still has the core in it, but the way I see it is you have to line up 2 of the holes in order to see through it, and when you do that, you can't see the core, so it wouldn't really matter if the core was there or not. But I suppose I could try a little harder and get rid of that core and maybe 3D print like a spherical core or something like that, but that's all stuff for another time. For now, I think this puzzle is cool, and that's where I end it. So I hope you guys like this puzzle, I hope you guys like this video, I hope you guys like the new place that I'm in. I got a lot more videos coming out in this area, and I'm really loving it. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.